There is a space in my heart where I find the truth. I find me and you, a truth beyond what you may see now. But when we are one, we bring more good about. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. And be who you are and let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here. You are welcome here. See when new eyes allow and unfold, embrace and let go, trust the flow. There's a freedom in love when you follow your heart. Together we are stronger than we could ever be apart. No matter who or what you call yourself or where you come from, yeah. There is a place in this world with open arms right now. Welcome to love and welcome to peace. Welcome to our community. And be who you are and let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. You are welcome here, and you are welcome here. And breathe in and out. Slowly feel all that's around you, and all that you feel, and all that you know. Let it go. Welcome to love, welcome to peace, welcome to our community. And be who you are and let your light shine. We're so much more when we unite. Yeah, when we unite. Oh, 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 when we unite. Yeah, yeah, when we unite. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. You are welcome here. Love is welcome here. And peace is welcome here. And you are welcome here.
Good morning. My name is Diana Johnson, and I proudly serve the Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta as a licensed practitioner. The call and response is an affirmation. How I choose to think creates my personal experience. Therefore, I choose to think affirmatively. I choose to speak affirmatively. I choose to live affirmatively. Not only is this my right, it is my responsibility as a conscious being. I allow myself to be guided, used, and available for the reawakening of everyone's magnificence. The moment is now, and I say yes, and so it is.
And so it is. Beautiful. Thank you, practitioner Diana Johnson. Thank you always to John Stringer for our beautiful opening song. We love that. And it so sets the tone for our time together this morning. You are welcome here to Spiritual Living Center of Atlanta, where you belong. Good morning, spiritual family. I am David Alexander, the spiritual director here, and I am so delighted to welcome you into this space that we are creating virtually. We're live on Facebook and on YouTube this morning. We invite you to participate in the chat. Let us know where you're watching from. Share this feed if you're on Facebook in particular. And be sure to let people know that this is part of your spiritual practice and part of your own growth and transformation. That's how other people learn about us these days. So we're so grateful that we are from coast to coast. We see you in California and Oregon and Missouri and Idaho, all over the place, tuning in this morning. Alabama, we see you, and of course all over Atlanta. Thank you so much. Let's go over some announcements, some things that are happening here. As always, our grateful giving is first on our list. We want you to know the phone number and the easiest way to contribute to us. That is through our text to give system. Just use that phone number that you see on your screen, text the dollar amount that you would like to contribute, and know that we are eternally grateful for all of the gifts that are received. We'll do our affirmation a little bit later. We want you to know that we are still inviting people to participate at the $50 a week or $200 a month level. That's a sustaining level for us. When we get 200 people a month or more giving at that level or more, then it creates a flow that sustains us at a level that we would like to see to fulfill our vision as a spiritual family. So thank you for considering what is yours to do in relationship to that goal. And now is a great time to make any adjustments to that goal if you're able and willing to today. Again, we'll do our affirmation a little bit later on in the service. Let me tell you about some other things that are happening. This afternoon, the Women in Truth, WIT, is meeting, and that'll be facilitated by Reverend Ursula. That's happening, I can't see the time there. 12:15 it looks like. So you can see the registration link in our comment section on Facebook, or go to our website or Facebook page and look for it there. Excuse me. We register for that. We'll do that by Zoom. And the women are focusing on vision today, vision for 2021, for your life, for the life that we share collectively, and for humanity. So that's going to be a powerful afternoon session for our Women in Truth. We want you to know that those of you who have pre-ordered your Spiritual Living Fulfillment Guide, that you can pick those up today from what time? 12:30 to 2 p.m., so just after the service today at the center on Claremont, or tomorrow from 10 a.m. to 3 p.m. And if you haven't ordered it yet, you do want to go ahead and get this. This is your guide. Kind of gives you a really good orientation, brief but succinct orientation to our principles and setting some intentions for the year. And then there's journaling space in here for every Sunday of the year to focus on what you're learning, and then how to connect that to your own personal intention and how you're showing up in terms of connect, grow, serve, and give, what I call the 4 core intentions of the universe for fulfilling our own destiny and life purpose. So it's all explained in there. $20. You can order it now. We'll ship it to you if you're not in the local area. And if you are in the local area, you can pick it up today or tomorrow. All right. We have Tuesday meditations that are happening online now. This is also facilitated by Reverend Ursula. We're so grateful. She's been doing this heart meditation for quite a while now, and we're folding that into just promoting it to our audience, letting you know about it. If you're looking for a wonderful meditation space on Tuesdays, it's powerful, it's guided, and will really anchor you in the vibration of the heart space. We have a class coming up on starting next Monday. Tomorrow's Martin Luther King holiday, and then the Monday after that, the 25th, we will begin our class on the You Belong book. You'll see that this is slightly different than our workbook journal. This is an authored book by the title of You Belong, and we're going to kind of be using it to integrate it into our themes and messages throughout the year. And it's a very, very powerful, written by Sabina Selassie, who describes herself as a nerdy Black immigrant tomboy Buddhist weirdo. And so she weaves in this notion of belonging and consciousness into social justice and how we show up with each other in a really wonderful way. I've been writing the curriculum for it for the last couple of weeks, and really looking forward to seeing you in that class. Love offering basis on that class, and all the information online. And finally today, if you need prayer or practitioner support, our practitioners are available in the chat and online. So just let yourself be known that you would like prayer support. They'll identify themselves as practitioners available for prayer support. And so you can click on their name and send them a private message, or you can simply let yourself be known in the chat that you would like some prayer support, and we'll get you connected. All right, I think that's it for now. Welcome again this beautiful Martin Luther King holiday weekend. We're so glad that you're here. We're going to be lifting up Dr. King in a number of ways, including this next segment. So welcome again.
Good morning, family. Good morning, SLCA. It's been a long time. I've definitely missed you. And I have something really wonderful to share with you this morning. This is a poem that celebrates two iconic figures, one of the, sadly, of the 21st century and one of the 20th century. This is, you can find this online if you like this poem as much as I do at the Atlantic magazine online. It's called Martin Luther King Jr. Mourns Trayvon Martin. A wonderful poem and elegy for two great figures in our society by Lauren Elaine, I believe is how you say her name, Lauren Elaine, a wonderful English professor and poet. So I'll share this with you now. For you, son, I dreamed a childhood unburdened by hate, a boyhood of adventure, skinned knees and hoops, first loves and small rebellions. I dreamed you whole and growing into your own manhood, writing its definitions with your daily being. I dreamed you alive, living. For you, America's African heir, I dreamed a future of open doors, of opportunity without oppression, of affirmation and action. I dreamed Oprah and Obama. I dreamed Colin and Condoleezza. I dreamed doctors and dancers, lawyers and linebackers, models, musicians, mechanics, preachers and professors, and police, authors, activists, astronauts, even all Black as Jesus is. I dreamed you dapper, the black skin of you polished to glow, your curls, your kinks, your locks. You're bald, you're wild, you're freshly barbered, all beautiful. I dreamed you wearing whatever the hell you want and not dying for it. For you, brother, I dreamed a world softened by love, free from the fear that makes too early ancestors of our men, turning our boys into targets, headlines, and ghosts. I had a dream that my children will one day live in a nation where they will not be judged by the color of their skin, but by the content of their character. Sweet song of my sorrow, sweet dream deferred. For you, gone one, I dreamed justice, her scales tipped away from your extinction, her eyes and arms unbound and open to you at last. Thank you.
Martin Luther King. He said, "The time is always right to do the right thing. But in order to do the right thing, we have to know the right thing." And that's what this treatment is about. So relax your body and cross your arms and legs. Let the tongue float to the roof of your mouth. And just settle into your seat. How do we know to do, to be, to have the right thing in a time of strife, in a time of uncertainty? When we focus on our truth, the only one that we know for sure, which is interior, whatever it is beating our heart and breathing our lungs, that's dependable. Information, ideas, thoughts, feelings, they change. Our reference moving in this time is eternal and internal. I am that. I am inseparable from this light that gives me life, this power, this intelligence, this design. Regardless of what's going on outside, changes, strife, we can look to Martin Luther King and say, how did this great teacher behave? What did he know? And he knew love. He knew nonviolence. I choose to know love. And no matter what my emotions may say or do or want, I choose nonviolence. This community teaches love, using our intelligence. So the emotional override, I discard it to the side. Sorry, emotions, no time for you today. I choose wisdom. Martin Luther King stood for peace. He fought for peace with his words and his right actions. I fight for peace by disregarding anger and hatred, tension, confusion. I allow the peace within to plume out of me, around into everybody and everything that I know and love, and that I don't know and don't love. I am a bearer of light. It is my design, undeniable. And in this peace, I can create. I can know something greater than what is being exposed to me, sold to me. My rights are within me. I have the right to choose love, to choose kindness, to be patient with a process. Martin Luther King was extremely patient with processes. To observe and reflect upon change and discord, to rise above all of it and know the truth. I'm sure it was completely impossible at times for him, but yet he represents that to all of us. What a king, what a leader, what a great, great man. So we look to him and we become him in times of strife, in times of discord, uncertainty. And in there we have a power of certainty, a power of love and connection to all mankind. We can be as beautiful as he is because he's still alive in all of us. And when we connect with that energy, we can feel the power, the gratitude, the possibility. He was one person. I am one person. You are one person. We can make a difference. feeling so grateful that we can know this together. We can be this love and intelligence and power together. Releasing this into the consciousness, asking it to continue unraveling what we have started here today. Grander, bigger, more powerful, more intelligent, and more loving. And together we say, and so it is.
And so it is. Thank you. With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. As I open and allow, I know right here and now, I create a world where wonders never cease. With every prayer, I breathe the heart of God. I breathe the love of God through me. Through me.
Amen. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you, Penelope, for anchoring us through all of that goodness that we experience. A bit powerful prayer from Reverend Ursula. Chris Adams, that poem. Oh, it's wonderful. And thank you. The link has been posted, I know, in our Facebook feed and perhaps on YouTube as well. I'm going to be going back and reflecting on that. I'd not heard it before. That was really, really rich. And our choir, throwback a little video to our choir. I Have a Dream video there. So grateful for all of the talent and the contribution and the diversity of the experience that is SLCA. What an amazing community. I know everybody, like myself, longs and wishes for us to be in the same room together again, but it's really so powerful that we're able to draw on our diversity and creativity and creative arts through these services online and to connect to a wider audience as well. So welcome again. So grateful that you're here today. I want to give a shout out also, speaking of our creative arts ministry and relationships that we have, the first inaugural Beloved Community Awards presented by the King Center was aired last night on Facebook. And Jen Cornell, who's been here before, played for a few services for us, cellist, and was part of our Christmas Eve services. You may remember our Christmas Eve broadcast. She won a Creative Arts Award, Beloved Community Award from the King Center last night and was recognized. So we want to give a shout out to her, and so grateful to Penelope for making that connection for us and all the wonderful creative arts talent that we are connected to throughout the greater Atlanta area. It's a beautiful thing. So good morning again. I feel something special about today and this time. I feel something renewed in me that I it's not that I haven't felt it before, but I feel a renewal of it. And this is a morning I really wish I had, an audience in front of me that I could hear. I know you're there. I know I said something last week about with the joke that I told about the downside of not having a live audience, and somebody correctly pointed out, you do have a live audience. We're here, right? But the feedback is I can't see your comments because it's on another screen. But in any case, if I was with you in the same room in physical presence this morning, I would ask for some shout back about this feeling that is in the atmosphere. I feel the spirit of liberation that is among us today, not just in one room, because we are in many places all around the country right now, but right where you are and right where I am and right in that space in between us and that collective and consciousness that makes us a collective right here and right now. I feel something. I feel a spirit of liberation hovering over humanity. I just invite you to say amen and to affirm that in your spirit if you feel it with me as we move into this day together. Surrounding this energy that I feel is, of course, the legacy and the memory of the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. and already the ways in which we have highlighted him and lifted him up this week and will continue to do so this morning. And there, of course, is also this looming sea change, right, of the direction of our governance, which is not so much about political party as much as it is about consciousness, right? There is a rising of a collective consciousness that brought this about, and we're on the precipice of that great sea change in energy. Everything happens in consciousness first, and then in form. And so later this week, we celebrate in form that which has already occurred in consciousness, even as we're dealing with the remnants of other things in consciousness, right, that are not necessarily about the higher good of all, but we have to deal with those as well. You see, that's the way the law works. When you affirm something in your life, when you affirm peace or prosperity or love or abundance or good health or anything that we might teach about using the power of affirmation in our voice, in our words and in our prayer, what happens is when we affirm something, we set the law into motion. We set a law into motion that goes to work on the affirmations of our heart to bring them about. And part of the ways that it brings them about is to disrupt or to dislodge or to bring up for reconciliation all of the things that have been in place, right, where that affirmation wants to reside, to remove the things that have been occupying that space that no longer fit, no longer belong. Like going through your closet and finding clothes that no longer fit, right? And so it's the things that have to be resolved, the unhealed stuff, the unconscious things, the shadow work of humanity. And so, of course, we're seeing that too, right? The beginning of this year, the shadow work that still has to be dealt with. And so today, as we look at the monthly theme that you have in your journal, timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision, timeless wisdom and evolutionary vision, we know that our teaching provides us a great focus today in our title, Here and Now. Here and Now. I just want you to just be with that phrase for a few minutes, just here and now. Here and now. Just that, without adding anything to it before or after, does something. There's power in those words. And we're going to unpack that and explore that a little bit today together this morning. So as we begin our journey throughout the year of 2021, we take a moment to take stock, right, of where we are and the route that we might have planned, as the women are doing in the Women in Truth meeting this afternoon, to look at visioning for our own lives and individually and collectively. And so we take stock to say, how am I going to use the spiritual practices and principles to be present in this moment and take a genuine deep look at where I am right now for myself, for my community, for the world, for our movement. Our vision as an organization, as part of the Centers for Spiritual Living, we speak often about this vision of envisioning humanity awakening to its spiritual magnificence, discovering the creative power of thought, a world where each and every person discovers his or her own personal power and ability to create an individual life that works within a world that works for everyone. We lean on the timeless wisdom of the words of our founder, Dr. Ernest Holmes, who says, I believe that the ultimate goal of life is to be an emancipation from discord of every nature, and that goal is sure, to be attained by all. That goal is sure, to be attained by all. He says in The Science of Mind, the divine mind is infinite. It contains all knowledge and all wisdom. But before it can reveal its secrets, it must have an outlet. Before it can, divine mind contains all wisdom and all knowledge, but before it can reveal its secrets, it must have an outlet. You and I are that outlet. You and I are the place through which the divine mind expresses itself, its creative genius, its unlimited capacity for love and for healing and for harmony. All of the words of wisdom are already within us. And so as we look around in our present time, we might see evidence that we haven't been good caretakers or stewards of this amazing thing called life. You may have evidence of that in your own life. You may certainly see it playing out on the political stage, that this idea that within us is everything that we need to create a world that works for ourselves and for each other, a world of harmony, a world of peace, a world of justice, a world of wholeness, that there is evidence that maybe we have not been good stewards of that internal wisdom, that we have done things that have brought harm upon ourselves and upon each other. As we acknowledge that, what we also acknowledge is that the power of the now. Now is the time to begin applying the wisdom and knowledge that is within us to bring about the change that we desire. The Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. asked this question as the title of the last book he wrote in 1967, one of the last sermons that he was prepared to give. And the title is, Where Do We Go From Here? Chaos or community? Where do we go from here? Chaos or community? And if you read that sermon turned into and book that he wrote, he outlines in actually great detail what is meant by the dream. You see, so often we focus on the dream that Dr. King had and the spiritual nature of equality and justice that is embedded within that dream. But I think in equal importance, we need to lift up the details of the dream, right? The architecture of the dream, the plans within it to bring about the dream into reality. And in that book, Where Do We Go From Here? He clearly outlines and identifies good paying jobs, fair wages, working together in intersectional ways before the word intersectional was popular. But he talked about coalitions that crossed boundaries and lines of political ideology, of race, of economic class, of working together for a greater common good in order to overcome the stubbornness of prejudice and white supremacy. He talked about keeping journalism and the media honest and fair, to keep them anchored in integrity of their work over approval ratings. He talked very clearly and articulately about what that dream meant in real tangible ways that, of course, would influence our political decision-making, our collective decision-making, our governance decision-making. And what's remarkable about reviewing that particular piece of work is if you go back and look at it, is you'll find that just about every point that he makes is still relevant and still needs our attention today. Every single one, 54 years later. Sadly, that is true because very little progress has actually been made on those finer details. Despite all of our lifting up of his name and this idea of a dream, we have done very little heavy lifting in the real work of the architecture of that dream. On January 6th of 2021, it looked as if we had chosen chaos over community. Or as Nancy Pelosi said, and I think it's remarkable that I'm quoting Nancy Pelosi this morning, we saw people choosing, quote, their whiteness over democracy. And so it begs the question, where do we go from here? And the question itself begs an orientation to our current status. Where do we go from here? The dream is about where to go. And Dr. King outlined the details of what that might look like. Where do we go from here? But I think sometimes we need to orient ourselves to the here part of the question. Where do we go from here? If you don't know where you are, it's really hard to get where you want to go. You can dream all day long, but if you're not clear about where here is, then I doubt very much that you'll be able to get there, regardless of where there might be. And so it begs a radical orientation to here. I said in the beginning that I felt like there was a great spirit of liberation hovering over humanity today and each of us as we gather in this space. And I feel that because every year when I look at the work of Dr. King and ways to bring that into a New Thought message and New Thought teachings, I find a reinvigoration of a divine truth that I know within my soul, not because it was book taught to me or there's no books about it. None of my teachers or mentors taught me this particular angle of the teachings, but I believe that the New Thought teaching is a teaching of liberation. I believe that our theology, if you will, our knowledge about God, which is what theology means, right? Our orientation to the divine is a theology of liberation, a theology that is designed and has within it the blueprint to set humanity free from its doubts, its fears, its limited thinking, its negative thinking, its unconscious and hidden biases, all of the things that would stop from articulating and capturing the fullness of who and what God has designed us to be. Our teaching teaches us very specifically and directly how to break free through understanding the laws of consciousness, those patterns that would otherwise hold us and each other back. As I said, no one taught it to me that way. Nobody said New Thought is a liberation theology. Nobody presented me with a book because there are no books on it, but maybe there needs to be one. And maybe today will be the start of that, who knows. But one of the primary characteristics of a liberation teaching is this notion of here and now. It's something that Dr. King inextricably understood, powerfully understood, and intentionally understood. Even his work and his time in Boston getting his PhD is anchored in this understanding of the personalization of here and now embedded in the divine sovereignty of our God-given selves. We'll speak about that in just a moment. But first, I want to talk about what I feel most of us, the ways in which most of us use the concept of here and now. Most of us use here and now, right? This idea of focus on the here and now, just focus on the here and now. You've probably heard that from a spiritual teacher. You've probably practiced that in a class. You've incorporated that into your own spiritual practice. Am I right? I'm overwhelmed by the world. Let me just focus on the here and now. That's kind of the standard way in which we use this principle, what I'm calling the principle of here and now this morning. Right? We use it as a way to take a mental break, right? That there's too much information and chaos, or we're overwhelmed by what's pressing against us for decision-making, whether that's on a personal level or the news at times when it seems to overwhelm us. And we'll say, just take a breath, focus on the here and now. Focus on the here and now. Now is the Eckhart Tolle, now is the only moment that there is. The only decision you need to make is about your state of consciousness right now. And we used it as this way to sort of create a bubble that inoculates us from the demands that are knocking on our individual and collective consciousness. Right? I need a break. Give me a minute. Self-care and mental health days, all of which, by the way, I think are very important, right? Extremely important when we talk about mental health and the capacity to take a pause, to push everything else aside and say, I just need to get re-grounded in myself and take care of myself. Very, very important. Paul Tillich, the theologian Paul Tillich, says that the overwhelming amount of mental health issues that we have in America, and he said this back in the 1950s, by the way, he said in his interpretation were more prominent in the Western world and in the United States. And this is my paraphrasing of his teaching on this, but he says are a direct refusal to evolve into the Christ mind, to put on the mind of Christ. That once all of your physical, mental needs are met, a world that provides so much for the lower part of the Maslow's hierarchy of needs, the next stage is to evolve into the Christ mind, into the Christ consciousness. And humanity, the Western mind, has chosen not to do that because it can't handle what that would mean. And so it required an excuse or a distraction, and therefore the manifestation of mental health. That's an interesting interpretation. It's not the subject of my sermon today, but Spirit said to throw it in, so I did. And the reason I did is because this idea of putting on the mind of Christ, putting on Christ consciousness, is central to the teachings of New Thought. This idea of oneness, that I am one with the mind of all. I am one with the mind of God. I'm one with the mind. I'm one with the divine intelligence. I'm one with the intelligence that moved through Moses and through Buddha and through Krishna and through all of the great sages and masters. I am one with that divine intelligence that's already within me, right? And so the need for mental health is important, but I wonder if we sometimes use this idea of here and now and taking a pause sometimes as a panacea, as a way of inoculating us from really stepping in to our unlimited capacity. That in fact, we can solve all the world's problems, right? That we can handle all the information that's coming at us, that we can find solutions for justice and peace and love, that we can do all of those things that we feel overwhelmed by. Because after all, the divine mind is in me. The divine intelligence is within me, right? As Jesus taught, I of myself can do nothing, but God with me, through me, as me, can do all things, right? You see, spiritual tools are really more neutral than we give them credit for. Here and now can be used in a number of different ways. But avoidance is not a spiritual practice, right? And because you have a body and because you agreed to the space-time continuum, here and now is where you are needed most. Here and now, here in this moment in America, here in this moment in consciousness, here amongst all of these conditions. You see, it doesn't matter how much we use here and now or other practices to take a break from the things that overwhelm us. Because we've agreed to the space-time continuum, right? Time is just something we made up, but we agreed to it. That's why we have a body, we're here, we agreed to it. Here and now is not an avoidance of what is happening around us, because here is present with all of the conditions. If we look at, forget the now part, let's look at here. Here requires a radical honesty and a radical sobriety about the conditions that have brought us here, about all that is on the threshold of this moment. It's not about avoiding it, it's about here. right? Because if we check out and we say, I don't want to pay attention to that, I just want to take a pause. There's a spiritual law in the universe. I call it the law of laundry. Maybe you have it in your house too, but in my house, there is the law of laundry. Anybody with me out there? The law of laundry? And you can be in as much here and now as you want to be. Peaceful, centering. I'm just focusing on this moment. I'm not worried about anything else. But you know what? The laundry continues to pile up. It doesn't matter how much here and now, present moments you practice, the laundry continues to pile up. Other ways that I've said it in ministry, I talk about the law of Sundays, that Sunday comes 7 days after Sunday. But for those of you in Monday through Friday jobs, you might say Monday comes 7 days after Monday, right? The laundry continues to pile up. And my friends, we are in a place in America right now where the kids are home from college and the laundry is high. Now, that's just a spiritual way of saying that the roosters have come home to roost, but I think you understand what I'm saying. Here requires both a radical honesty and a sobriety about that whatever it is that we need to come face to face with that is here in the room with us. Here is present with the pile of dirty laundry of America's past. Here is present with the dis-ease. Here is present with the condition. Here is present no matter what condition the condition is in. That's a Willie Nelson line, isn't it? Isn't that a line from a Willie Nelson song? I just dropped in to see what condition my condition is in. All right, if you're playing the SLCA bingo card at home, that's a scratch off for Willie Nelson lyrics, okay? No matter what condition our condition is in, here is a radical and sobering anchoring of presence with the condition, not an avoidance of them. And then we get to the most empowering thing about the principle of here and now. Here, with all that's going on, without avoidance, without distraction, without twisting it in some way, without trying to love and light it, just here. And now. Here and now. And now becomes the liberating moment. Now becomes the leverage of liberation and emancipation within our souls, because now says when we have the power to change something. When is the only time that you have the capacity to change a condition in your life? Now. Now is the only time. If there's anything in our consciousness that says, when this happens, when that happens, when I'm in that relationship, when I get that job, when I have enough money, when the conditions change, when the politicians change, when such and such occurs. No, the power is not in any of those things. All of those are conditional preferences of our consciousness. Now is the only moment that there is. Now is the only time to change. Now is the only time to demand justice. Now is the only time to declare peace. Now is the only time to claim your birthright, your wholeness, your worthiness, your health and well-being. Now is the only time that there is. Here, present with the conditions as they are, without avoiding, sugarcoating, love and lighting them, or wishing them away. Here, present with everything that is right in front of our face, asking for healing and reconciliation. With all of the pain, with all of the disenfranchisement, with all of the ugliness that has been unearthed, all of the stuff as the carpet has been pulled back is right there. We are here with it. Now we have the capacity to change it. Now we have the capacity to transform it. Now we have the capacity to set a law into motion that cannot be denied through the power of our voice. Dr. King spoke of the fierce urgency of now, because he understood that now was the only moment that there is. I used to work when I was young and in high school and college. I did some lobbying for youth agencies through the state capitol in New Mexico, youth public policy issues and issues that affected families and children. And I had mentors in the political system. And I remember one year before a legislative session, one of my mentors telling me that, this year is not a good year for advocating for, I don't remember what the particular thing was, but whatever it was, right? This year is not a politically expedient year to do that, right? The balance of power isn't right, and we've got this budget issue, and it's just not the good year to push that particular agenda. And I remember sitting in this man's office in the Capitol building in Santa Fe, New Mexico, and I said, now is the only moment that there is. If this year isn't a good year, we'll never find one. And I walked out. Because now is the only moment that there is. We can always make excuses. I will do that when I'm feeling better. I will do that when I have enough money saved up. I will do that when, whatever it is. But now is the only moment that there is. Emancipation from discord of every nature is now. King understood something about the what freedom is in relationship to the power of now. He interacted and engaged with a kind of individualistic personalism that in Boston. He went to Boston intentionally, you understand, to get his law degree, so that when he was in great critique of the laws of our nation, the critique was not from the outside, but it was coming from the schooled heartbeat of our nation, right? It doesn't get more American than Boston University. It doesn't get more new thought, quite frankly. I really think there ought to be an exploration of King's philosophy and the roots of new thought right there in Boston, where Emma Curtis Hopkins and the Christian Science movement, Emerson and the Transcendentalist, and Ernest Holmes, not far from Boston, had their deep sense of this personalism, this individual sovereignty, that we have access to the divine intelligence here and now. There's no doubt in my mind that Dr. King touched the influences of the New Thought movement in Boston, and it touched his power to lead the civil rights movement in the way that he did. It is said that when he got on the school bus in his younger years, he would walk past the empty seats, and in his mind he would say, as he was going back to the section that was labeled for colored folks, he would pass by the empty seats reserved for whites only, and he would say in his mind, "That's my seat. That's my seat. That's my seat." Not one day it will be my seat, not when the government changes, it will be my seat, not when people recognize my humanity, it will be my seat. Here and now, it is my seat. In the midst of the conditions that don't recognize my humanity, I claim my humanity. In the midst of the conditions that do not affirm our divinity, I claim our divinity. As the sanitation workers marched with the signs that said, "I am a man," they did not say, "I one day will be a man when you finally get around to seeing me as a man." They didn't say, "I will be more human when you see me as more human." No, they said, "Here and now." They also hung the banners from the buildings in the cities that would say, "A man was lynched today. A man was lynched," not an animal, not a non-human being, but so that here and now you're present with the horrors of the reality that we have brought to our present moment, and we are declarative of the power that we have to change them. That is the power of the civil rights movement. That's the power of the legacy that Dr. King understood, and that is the same power that resides in our New Thought teaching, that here and now we know what it means when we say emancipation from discord of every nature is a goal that is sure to be attained by all. Dr. King understood freedom as the capacity to be self-directed, as the capacity to deliberate and weigh alternatives, as the capacity for a man, as a human being, a man, a woman, to express themselves in terms of decision-making. And he also understood the capacity of freedom as as the anchoring in responsibility, that freedom implies responsibility. Freedom implies self-directedness, capacity to weigh options, the capacity to make decisions, and it implies responsibility for the decisions that we make. And so if we are to be free from discord of every nature, we are to be anchored in the power that we have to discern our future, to make our decisions, and to take responsibility for the decisions that we make, both individually and collectively. This understanding of freedom both shapes our inner work as well as our justice work. If you simply look at that definition that Dr. King understood of freedom, again, self-determination, decision-making, and responsibility, we can look out in the world and we can say, where are the places in which people are not given the capacity to make their own decisions, right? Where are they not given real and reasonable options to determine their own future? Where are people not taking responsibility for the decisions that they've made on behalf of others or themselves? And the answers to those questions shape the justice work that we're called to do. Why? Because we are one with them. It also shapes our inner work. Where in my own life do I feel like I don't have the power to make that decision? Have I really weighed the options? Have I declared my self-authoring authority to guide and direct my life? And am I taking responsibility for the things that I've created and the conditions that are brought to me here and now? And so the blending of these ideas really articulate our own journey in inner spiritual work as well as our outer justice work. And of course, it brings us to that anchoring of oneness, right? Here and now shapes not only our inner journey, but our outer work, because oneness is all that there is, because we are anchored in the here and now with a power that is greater than ourselves, and that power that is everywhere present in you, in me, in them and those, and in everybody and everything. And responsibility for that oneness brings up quite a lot in this moment of history. I want to speak to that for just a moment before we close. A friend of mine asked a very important question recently on social media. He said, if I believe in oneness, does that mean that I am one with Trump, one with conspiracy theories like QAnon? Am I one with those who stormed the Capitol? And here was the answer that I gave to that question. Yes, God is all that there is, and you are one or in relationship with all that is. You're in relationship with all that is because God is all that there is. Being in relationship with everything does not have to translate, however, to liking, tolerating, or even accepting everything that is in the realm of conditions. It means only that you are in relationship with it. More on that in a moment. But first, let's understand where you are one. For understanding where you are one is just as important as understanding what you are one with. The where you are one is in consciousness, right? Because consciousness is all that there is. You're not one at the level of conditions or effects, because those are outcomes. Those are conditions or effects. A particular person who's elected at any time, whether it's Trump or anybody else, is an effect of a collective consciousness. QAnon and conspiracy theories are an effect of a consciousness that resides behind them. The insurrection and those who storm the Capitol are effects of a consciousness and feeling of disenfranchisement that is behind them. All are effects. And so if we are one at the level of consciousness and in relationship with the world of effects, or the results of said manifested consciousness, then our job and our function of our relationship to the conditions that we see is to inquire where they come from, what's behind them, what they're here to teach. So we look at the conditions and we say, well, I'm not one with the effects, but I'm in relationship with the effects. And if I'm in relationship with it, then my job is to inquire, what is it here to teach me? And if we were to discern by looking radically and honestly at here. What are the conditions that we're present with? What are these things here to teach me? If we were to discern out of that inquiry process that there is a sense of inferiority, a sense of fear of being replaced, a sense of being ignored or obsolete, an insecurity masquerading as superiority, that these were the types of things that were in the consciousness driving behind some of the things that I've mentioned, we would see that all of those are points of causation within consciousness. And so the next step would be to ask ourselves, do any of these energies reside in me? If so, where? How? Have I ever felt inferior? Have I ever felt like I was being replaced or ignored or obsolete or unheard? And how can I heal that? Because when we are one and responsible for the co-created conditions of our collective experience, we also take a stand in the public sphere, and we're able to say, no, these manifestations of insecurity, etc., are not welcome here because they do not reflect our highest values. Here and now, we declare them mute, we declare them impotent to create our future, because here and now, we declare our values of collective humanity. We take responsibility for the insight that they bring to us, but we claim our power, just as we would in a relationship, right? If any of you have ever experienced a bad relationship, and I'm sure some of us have, that relationship is your teacher. You're in relationship to the relationship. How about that? But once you gain the insights, then you have every right and responsibility to end the relationship, to end the exposure to harm and abuse, right? And then to move on. And so again, at the level of manifested conditions, our teaching does not tell us how to make nice with conditions that are not good for us. They actually teach us how to eradicate conditions that are not good for us. They teach us how to be liberated from conditions that are not good for us. They teach us how to transform conditions that are not good for us. Oneness does not mean playing nice with conditions that harm yourself or others. So here and now, we stand pregnant with possibility as a human race, facing the unresolved issues of white supremacy and the powers of unlimited good that are found in our democracy and our diversity. And we must choose. And we must be willing to do the hard work, to call out what needs to be called out, and to affirm what needs to be affirmed. And to know that as we do this, we liberate not only ourselves, but all of humanity. This is the essence of the dream of Dr. King. And it comes with real and tangible results, as outlined in a world that works for everyone. And so here and now, I declare that the mantle of the ordained architects of the beloved community have been passed to each and every person within the sound of my voice, and that they have been endowed by their Creator with the capacity of self-direction, the power to decide, and all rights and privileges and responsibilities pertaining thereto, that you and I, even through this breath, may claim this mantle of responsibility to be architects of the beloved community, of a world that works for everyone, present with everything that is, and anchored in our power to change it into what can be. For this and so much more, I'm truly grateful and thankful as I release this and allow it to be. And so it is.
And so it is. Thank you so much, Reverend Dr. David. Thank you. Thank you. So now it's our time to feed back what we are grateful for. This community feeds us. You can't get this in a book. Do you feel the energy? Do you feel something vibrating inside of you? Do you feel more alive? You can't pay for that, but you can show gratitude for that. We're an entire community. And when we give back to something that's feeding us, that's tithing. And we create a flow, a continual flow, the law of circulation. What shall we give, we freely receive. And it's really beautiful because we become a part of this community. Did you get some new ideas, some inspiration? Give back so those can continue to come to us energetically. Support this community so it can thrive, so it can give more. Out of love, out of devotion, out of a sense of belonging. And just kind of make that choice. And there's many levels of giving. If you're new, you can just give the way you know how to give. They have a PayPal link. They have the website right there. They have text to give. And you can even send a check. It's our hearts that feel so grateful. So feed our heart by feeding the community. And we have a little affirmation that we say about for the grateful giving. I live in a universe of abundance. As I freely give and joyfully give, I live in the divine flow, and all that I share with life returns to me, multiplied abundantly. And so it is.